Hey, everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining the most censored comedian in the nation. Thanks for being here. For those of you who've been living under a rock for a while, I'm also going live on Rockfin, by the way. My TV show, Redacted Tonight, canceled by U.S. sanctions. All of the past episodes and clips, over 1,000, banned on YouTube around the world. And my podcast, Moment of Clarity, deleted by Spotify. That's the past couple of weeks for me. But I have a special episode for you. Sorry to bump the table. Don't worry, it's not an earthquake. Don't worry. Thanks for joining me, though. Means a lot that you're supporting, especially those of you on Patreon, patreon.com/Lee Camp. Hoping to have a fairly big announcement for you soon. But yeah, so this is kind of a cool episode. I've been saving this for a while, so you should know how special you are. I've been saving this for a while. And this seems like the perfect time because we're in this world of like crazy propaganda going on right now. All the pro-war manufacturing consent fucking tsunami of bullshit is out right now. And that doesn't mean Russia's not wrong to invade Ukraine. I said they're wrong a fucking 100 times, all right? But that doesn't mean also that there's not just loads of bullshit. Honestly, full-on tsunamis of garbage. And you might say, Lee, the mainstream media is not manufacturing consent for war like they normally do. They're manufacturing consent to end a war, right? To stop the war in Ukraine. No, I'm sorry, my friends. First of all, the U.S. government wants to continue this war as long as possible in Ukraine. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. And so they're actually trying to stop any peace talks from happening. But beyond that, the larger picture is they're manufacturing the mainstream media, U.S. government, which mainstream media is propaganda straight up from the U.S. government, basically just stenographers for the State Department. They are right now manufacturing consent for the largest Cold War we've seen in decades. Let's hope it remains a Cold War, although the Ukraine is a proxy war between the United States and Russia. But let's hope it remains a Cold War. However, they are manufacturing consent for a breathtaking Cold War that will have ramifications around the world, crushing of economies around the world. Anyway, so as per usual, they are manufacturing consent for war of one form or another. So with all of that propaganda going on, I thought now would be the time, because if you don't understand your history, then you're doomed to repeat it, right? I think someone said that. I believe it was Bart Simpson. Someone important said that. If you don't understand, if you don't pay attention, if you don't learn your history, then you're doomed to repeat it. And we're doing that right now. Of course, it's intentional. It's not an accident that we are repeating our history. But I just wanted to remind everyone of the breathtaking propaganda and bullshit and attacks against anti-war voices that went on in the lead up to the Iraq War. Now, that it was nothing new. In fact, on Government Secrets podcast, the next episode, I'm going to go through some of the incredible censorship and propaganda that came out during World War I. And guess what? Some of the same outlets, like the New York Times, was doing it then, putting forward crazy propaganda to manufacture consent for a war that was incredibly unpopular and to join that war. So in order to show, but in this episode here, I want to focus on the lead up to the Iraq War. And I have something special for you. This is what I mean by I've been saving this for a while. This is the New York Times from 2003, just before the Iraq War. There you go. This is one of those, for those of you that are a little younger, this is it's like a piece of paper where they would print the news on the paper and then they'd like hand it to people. They'd like walk around. They'd be like, here, you take this. That's how we used to share information. I know it's crazy. It's crazy. They used to do this. So and people would, some people would buy these things and then they'd like carry them around. They have these big things with them and they're fucking under their arm and shit, and it'd be all in their face. And, it's like carrying around a boombox or something. And that's how they used to do it. So this is one of those, okay? For those of you under 30, that's what I'm describing right now. It's like a iPad with more pages. It's like a bunch of iPads stapled together, okay? So this is New York Times, March 9th, 2003. just before the invasion of Iraq. We were already, of course, bombing Afghanistan thoroughly. And I want to go through some of the phenomenal bullshit and propaganda in the New York Times from 2003, just before the invasion of Iraq. All the lead up had already happened. We had already stationed all our fucking aircraft carriers and our troops and everything. Because the truth, as I'll discuss more, is that the Bush administration and the Pentagon and the CIA, blah, 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 that group, the deep state combined with the not so deep state. Because George Bush, let's be honest, George W. Bush, not so deep, okay? Very not so deep, that guy. They had decided on war the moment the 9/11 happened, right? General Wesley Clark, who is not, this is no peace-loving peacenik, right? General Wesley Clark said he went to the Pentagon right after, in the week after 9/11, and he was told, we're getting ready to invade 7 countries in 5 years. And I usually forget one of them, but, it was like Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Libya, and Afghanistan. But anyway, so they already knew it was happening, but the New York Times has kind of a twofold job in this, or maybe threefold job in this situation. We're getting ready for war. 1, they have to justify the war. 2, they have to make it sound like it's something that just got decided on, right? That wasn't in the works for years in various policy papers of how to bring down Iraq, how to bring down various countries in the Middle East. They need to say, oh, it was a tough call, and figuring it out. Yes, Sky, I think you're correct. Somalia was the other one on the list, which we're now bombing. Literally, as Ukraine is being bombed, we're bombing Somalia. So here are some of the articles, some of the columns in this March 9th, 2003 New York Times physical edition, folks. Fucking boom. The real thing. And don't ask who I had to blow to get this paper. I mean, blow away. I mean, kill. I didn't. Who said blow? Who said no? Blow. Kill. Who I had to kill to get the paper? There was no blowing involved. All right. So the top article says aides say Bush girds for war in solitude, but not in doubt. Even just that title, right, makes George W. Bush sound like a warrior. He's a warrior who's just thinking real hard, spending a lot of time. Furthermore, it acts like his decision is his own, right? It's not being done by the Pentagon or the CIA or any of those people. It's his own, and he's trying to come to terms with it, right? And what happened after 9/11? What choice do we have? Even though 9/11 had nothing to do with Iraq, absolutely nothing to do with Iraq, like fucking totally nothing to do with Iraq. But he just, he's just sitting there and he's thinking about things, trying to figure it out. But listen to how this reads. It reads like a fucking fictionalized, like bullshit military fucking novel. It was another night at a White House, nearly at war. The Atlantic Alliance was splintering. 250,000 American troops were within striking distance of Iraq, and the Pope had sent an envoy pleading for peace. Upstairs, the First Lady was entertaining a group of friends for dinner. Downstairs, a crowd of reporters was assembled. President Bush, his face already made up for his primetime news conference, his first primetime news conference in 18 months, turned to his chief of staff. He said, "Why don't you give me a little bit of time?" For the next 10 minutes, the President of the United States, a man under inconceivable pressures. See, this is the type of propaganda. Now, was he under pressure? Yeah, maybe so. But why is that what's highlighted? That's what's highlighted because we're supposed to feel for him. We're supposed to care about this guy who's getting ready to commit a fucking massive war crime of just unbelievable proportions. The ultimate death toll will be 1 million people in Iraq. And even if he didn't know that ultimate death toll, he knew it would be hundreds of thousands. Just look at the way we did it with shock and awe, just endless bombing, just complete destruction of the entire society. He knew, and they knew, that there would be just mass killing of children, of elderly, of women and men and every type of person that had nothing to do with 9/11, nothing to do with weapons of mass destruction, even if Iraq had them. Nothing to do with fucking anything. and we murdered them all. And what is the New York Times spending their pages on? Their crucial ink that goes out to millions of Americans, and even beyond just the millions that read the New York Times. Their thought pieces then get adapted for your mainstream cable news outlets around the world. Read this and then adapt it for their own thing. So the end ripple effect of a New York Times article in the lead up to war is fucking incalculable. And yet, what are they spending their time on? How much trouble Bush is having. He's just, he's sitting alone and he's thinking and he's trying to figure it out. Now, Mountain Bike would like to tell me that 1 million people didn't live in Iraq. Well, first of all, I don't think that's true. But secondly, yeah, there were a lot of people killed in and around Iraq that, first of all, that's completely false. But secondly, there were a lot of people killed throughout this that were the ripple effects go beyond just Iraq, right? The estimates of the number killed by our wars and terror is now 6 million. 1 million direct deaths and then 5 million indirect deaths. Societies collapse. People can't get clean water, can't get food, can't take care of their babies, can't get medication. So the deaths ripple through a warring society. And so now we've killed 6 million people over the past 20 years. Iraq is just a portion of that. Okay, so let's see. So he's in solitude and he's trying to figure it out. Moments later, Mr. Bush strode up to his lectern in a bright television glare, presenting himself in nearly an hour-long news conference on Thursday as a leader impervious to doubt. At a time when the world is arguing about whether the United States should go into Iraq, while even his advisors are still debating options, Mr. Bush's aides say that he has come to realize that making the decision to go to war is the loneliest moment that presidents face. I mean, mind-blowing garbage. Mind-blowing. This makes fucking Lord of the Rings look like a fucking truthful newspaper. This is like the idea. First, I mean, the idea that we should be caring about this poor man and his decision is fucking shit. Festering, rotting animal carcass of shit. And the idea that this decision was made by him alone is fucking hilarious. All right. This was the Pentagon, as General Wesley Clark told us. This was fucking neocon think tanks that went up to Mr. Puppet President George W. Bush and said, here's what's happening, right? Here's what you're going to do. Here's how this is going to work. And then George W. Bush gave his little speeches and played good old, good luck, Chuck. He played good old bar guy that sits there and has a beer with you, right? That's who George W. Bush was. Yeah, buddy. He didn't make this fucking decision. It was made by fucking Henry Kissinger and Brzezinski and all those garbage human beings, Bill Kristol, all these shitbags, whoever the hell was the Secretary of Defense at the time. Was it Gates? I don't know. I mean, that's who these decisions are made by. Anyway, while Iraq weighs on him heavily, they say a president who sees the world as a biblical struggle of good versus evil has never expressed any misgivings or personal vulnerabilities about going to war against Saddam Hussein. Really, what these articles should have been, if they were telling the truth, if they gave a shit about reality instead of manufacturing consent for war, these articles in 2003, in the lead up to one of the most devastating wars you've ever fucking seen in terms of people killed, and in terms of one-sidedness, they're focusing on what these articles really should have focused on is how there were no weapons of mass destruction. And don't say we didn't know that, because we fucking knew it. Okay, go back and watch the speech by Colin Powell to the UN about how there's weapons of mass destruction. What does he show on the board? First of all, he shows a video of something that he says shows a plane releasing like a chemical plume or something. The video was provably from 2 years earlier. That type of chemical we knew Iraq had destroyed. And furthermore, the video was from the chemical weapons we gave to Iraq to use on Iran. What else did Colin Powell show? Oh, he showed a cartoon, like literally a drawing cartoon, a comic strip of what he said were the mobile labs. Why was it a cartoon drawing? Because they didn't have any real images, because it didn't fucking exist. That's why he had to show a cartoon of Wile E. Coyote driving a chemical lab. That's why Colin Powell had to do that in front of the U-fucking-N, okay? Because they had nothing, and they knew it. So the idea that we didn't know it, Scott Ritter, who I interviewed the other day, you can watch that on my Patreon, former UN weapons inspector, he was running around with his hair on fire, telling everyone there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And he was right. Big surprise. What else are the articles in this New York Times in the lead up to war? Well, one's about questioning terror suspects in a dark and surreal world that basically justifies torture. You know, they call it interrogation techniques used to obtain vital information. Well, we now know that not only were we torturing against all international law, but that it got no vital information. There was no vital information coming from the people we were torturing. Then I love this article. Next article. This is all the front page. This is all you're getting. By the way, the photo, if you're wondering what the fuck that stupid photo is, that is a U.S. soldier on a battleship off Iraq hitting golf balls out to sea. And what does that do? Well, for one thing, it shows U.S. and he's got a cowboy hat on. For one thing, it shows the U.S. soldiers is fucking cool and fun, but as opposed to cold-blooded killers, which is what, I get some of them didn't know what they were signing up for, and some of them many of them believed the propaganda that they were somehow protecting the world. So I get that they were misled, but still, what were they doing? They were murdering a lot of fucking innocent people. And so this is them playing golf, and I think that serves a secondary purpose, which is to make people thinking of signing up for the military, which in that time around 9/11 was a lot of people, right? It's to make people thinking of signing up for the military say, yeah, that looks amazing. You're out on the open ocean hitting golf balls out to sea, and you're getting like paid to do it, or at least it's free. Maybe you're getting college paid for. Amazing. All right. I want to be that guy in a playing golf in the middle of an ocean with a cowboy hat on. Fuck yeah. I'd be pantsless, but it's close enough. Next article. Still defiant. Iraqis destroy more missiles. Still defiant. That's all you need to know about the garbage New York Times, and it's happening again now, and it happened in World War I, and it happened in the Spanish-American War. This goes way back. This is the job of your mainstream media. And by the way, right now in this era of fake news, who is it everyone turns to not be fake news? New York Times, right? New York Times, Washington Post. That's who most of the country is turning to, because we're in an age of fake news. So let's go pick up the New York Times and see what the real news is. If you go to Wikipedia, who do you have to quote from in order to have it count, in order to have it be a legit fact? New York Times, CNN, Washington Post. If you go to Facebook, what are you allowed to post as legitimate news? New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, Fox News. That's who they believe is real in these times of fake news. And you can see how much garbage it is in times of war. Well, right now we're in a time of war because it's the new Cold War times 10. We're in a time of war because it's a proxy war in Ukraine right now between the U.S. and Russia. And so we are in a time of war. So what are they doing? Cranking out this same shit all over again. So next article, still defiant. Iraqis destroy more missiles. Still defiant. We now know the Iraqis did not have any weapons of mass destruction. WMD, right? We knew it, and as I said, they knew it then. But the rest of us, the rest of Americans now know nothing. But the New York Times is telling you Iraqis are still being defiant. They're still not doing what they should be. What the fuck? We got to go in there and get those Iraqis because they're not doing what they should be. They're not getting rid of all their weapons the way we told them to. Only we get to have big weapons. They don't have big weapons. Just we have big weapons. They'll be our weapons. And actually, they were literally our weapons because we had the receipts. As Bill Hicks said, which shoulder is he behind? Right there. As the man right there said, how do we know they have WMD? We have the receipts. Of course, they didn't because they destroyed them all. But anyway. Iraq today resumed destroying its short range. See, we'd resorted to making them destroy their short range missiles because the truth is they had no WMD that were going to destroy America, etc. So they were getting rid of their short range missiles. In a further apparent attempt to exploit the deep division among the world's powers over war, issued a defiant list of demands to the UN. So yes, Iraq that was getting that was on the brink of being invaded and destroyed by the most powerful military in the world. They were defiant. They were exploiting a rift in the powers in the world's powers. A rift, a deep divide in the world's powers. Yeah, you mean of the countries that wouldn't fucking back our stupid shit, our stupid let's go kill a million people that don't see it coming. There were a bunch of countries that didn't support that. Many were pressured into it, and they just fucking rolled over to the United States because we have a gun to their economies. We had a gun to their economies, so they were like, okay, yeah, we support. All right, go kill all those brown people. Just don't fuck with our economy. Glossing over the negative aspects of the latest report by the weapons inspectors, which, by the way, there were other. Hans Blix was another one. There were other weapons inspectors other than just Scott Ritter that said there's no WMD in Iraq at the time. A government statement issued from a meeting chaired by President Saddam Hussein and editorials in the government-controlled press all reached the same conclusion, that Iraq had been declared sufficiently free of weapons of mass destruction to warrant the cancellation of sanctions imposed after the 1991 Persian Gulf War. So you see how they do this. The New York Times and all of our media had worked very hard to make you just know that Saddam Hussein was this evil killer and everything. And I'm not going to act like Saddam Hussein was a good guy, but guess what? We don't get to control every country. We don't get to we don't get to kill a million people because a country has a dictator. By the way, we don't give a fuck about dictators. The United States sends funding and aid to 70% of the world's dictators. Google it. So we love a dictator, fine with it, have no problem with it. And so here you have the New York Times knowing that they have done that, successfully made it so that anyone who reads any statement by Saddam Hussein in America immediately knows, okay, that's false. So when Saddam Hussein says we don't have WMD, that all Americans go, well, that's garbage. Just Saddam Hussein said it. But of course it was true. You and I now know. They knew at the time it was false, but you and I now know bullshit. Sorry, you and I now know that our government was full of bullshit. So more on the UN. UN. Oh, I love this one's great too. I love this one. This is still front page, by the way. I'm not going deeper than the front page. You get all the garbage. This is all. What's their motto? All the news is fit to print. All the garbage is fit to print is right here on the front news, on the front page. Rebuffing partners. Let's see if I can show it to you. I can't see it really well. Rebuffing partners. Bush freezes Mideast plan during crisis in Iraq. In a sharp rebuff to European allies, Russia, and the United Nations, the Bush administration has decided not to put forth a plan for peace settlement between Israel and the Palestinians until after the crisis in Iraq is resolved. Bah! Amazing. Yes, the U.S. we were so close to solving the Israel-Palestine, to creating peace between Israel and Palestine. We were just about to do it, and we were so close. And then this crisis in Iraq just popped up. We don't know where it came from, and we can't do the two things at the once. So we just gotta deal with this crisis in Iraq. But we're gonna get right back any minute to solving the Israel-Palestine tiff, if you will, the fisticuffs between Israel and Palestine. Now, what's the reality behind this? Fucking Israel is a U.S. outpost, essentially. The U.S. was never going to do anything to support Palestine, to help there be peace, to give in to any of the slightest request or demand of Palestine. They are 100% behind Israel's apartheid state. That's what the U.S. is. That's what the U.S. has been for decades, ever since Israel's inception. And this is garbage. Of course, the fucking peace. The Bush administration was not about to create peace in Israel with Palestine. And then the Iraq crisis just bubbled up. As I already said, even General Wesley Clark and others, but even General Wesley Clark told us that the moment the planes hit the towers, the Pentagon said, here's who we're invading. Doesn't matter if they have nothing to do with it. Doesn't matter if they have fucking nothing to do with anything. We are destroying these countries. And as I've covered before, the biggest thing that links these countries, the countries on the list, I believe all of them. The biggest thing that links them is they were all outside, until we fucking destroyed and invaded them. We're outside our central banking system. That was the biggest thing. Saddam Hussein dropped the dollar. Syria dropped the dollar. Gaddafi dropped the dollar. Gaddafi was looking to create an African currency called the gold dinar. And each of these countries were outside our central banking system. The U.S.'s global hegemony is based largely on two things: the petrodollar and the size of our military and the 900 military bases around the world. Those two things give the U.S. the control of the globe, or much of the globe. So destroying these countries that were outside of our central banking system was the priority. It had nothing to do with a crisis bubbling up in Iraq, finding out they had WMD. It had nothing to do with Saddam Hussein being a bad guy, because we love bad guys as long as they're doing exactly what we fucking want. In fact, we murder and invade countries with good guys if they're not doing what we want. Allende. Other September 11th, 1973 in Chile. All right, and let's do one more story before we wrap this up. Again, all on the front page. I'm not even digging into this thing, all right? I'm giving you the articles on the front page of the New York Times, 2003, March 9th, right before the complete obliteration of Iraq. CIA warns GIs, I think they mean, soldiers, not gastrointestinal. Warns people's gastrointestinal tracts. CIA warns GIs of attacks in Iraq by terror groups. Now let's sit and process this for a minute. Like an adult human being, okay? Take yourself out of toxic nationalism, okay? Take yourself out of GI's good guys and CIA good guys because it's our CIA, and Iraq bad guys. And I know if you're watching this, you're probably already outside of that idiot box there. But so take yourself out of the toxic nationalism and think about this. Our intelligence organization is warning our soldiers who are doing what? Whether you, even if you, let's take you back to 2003. Let's say you believe there were WMD. You believe Saddam Hussein was evil. You believed he was going to kill all these people with WMD. So you believe there was no choice but to go into this country. Even if you believe that, which you're a moron, but even if you believe that, it's still our soldiers invading a foreign country. Still, even if you believed all that stuff. So our soldiers invading Iraq have been warned that there might be terror attacks against them. Well, what's a terror attack? Well, a terror attack is when someone goes and kills a bunch of innocent people to make a political point, and it almost always needs to be, essentially it needs to be outside of war. Because if it's within war, that's just you waging war. Now, because I'm anti-war, I still view it as wrong to kill civilians in times of war. But every time you drop a bomb, you're likely killing some innocent civilians. But they don't call those terror attacks, right? Whenever the U.S. does it, those aren't terror attacks. That's not terrorist bombing. That's just war, right? So in order for it to be a terror attack, it would have to be outside of the realm of war, and it would have to be killing a bunch of innocent people to make a political point. Yet this article, just in the headline, you can tell, is an invading force getting hit by, let's say, a bomb, an IED, whatever, getting hit by an IED by the people that are not the invading force, so the people in that country, the people defending that country, even if they're wrong, even if you would say they're wrong for defending that country. Okay, let's put yourself in that headspace. They're still defending that country, even if you think they're wrong to do it. So this is the people defending their country shooting or blowing up the invading force in a time of war. I mean, clearly a time of war. They're being invaded. How is that a terror attack? Like, what? There's no way that fits under the definition of terrorism. Now, of course, when I take myself out of that place I just put you in, all of it's wrong. Fucking war is wrong. Killing's wrong. There shouldn't be war. Our invasion shouldn't have happened. Obliterating 1 million Iraqis shouldn't have happened. None of that should have happened. But there's no way this is defined as a terror attack, even if you're of the idiot mind that I just described. I'll read the title again. CIA warns GIs of attacks in Iraq by terror groups. A risk is seen to troops. You think when you invade a country, there might be a risk to troops? Al-Qaeda fighters, for some reason back then, they decided that the way to print Al-Qaeda was just Qaeda. They got rid of the Al. I don't quite know what the decision was, but so back then, the New York Times would call them Qaeda fighters. Qaeda fighters are planning campaign even if Baghdad topples. The CIA has warned that terrorists, well, they're no longer terrorists if they're defending their country, right? You could argue they were terrorists if they had bombed Americans in another country, in another context. The 9/11 attacks fit under the umbrella of terrorism. But once you're defending Iraq and you're Iraqi, you're not a terrorist creating terror attacks. Or even if they're saying that some of these Al-Qaeda fighters came from Afghanistan, they're still defending, it might not be their country, but they're still defending their part of the world from an invading force. So, and they're going after not innocent civilians, but combatants, right? Soldiers. So still doesn't fit under the category of terror or terrorism. It fits under the category of these fucking guys that are trying to kill us and we're trying to kill them. But you decided to go create war on a country. Maybe you shouldn't be that surprised. That's a line from Louis C.K. Sorry, I know he's been canceled, but Louis C.K. had a pretty good line about, like, maybe if you go to other people's countries and you're shooting at them and they shoot back, you shouldn't be that surprised. The agency's previously undisclosed assessment has circulated among senior Bush administration officials. By the way, as in this time, as in our time now, you should never believe anything the CIA says. Their whole job, well, a large part of it, I guess collecting intelligence is part of it as well. Half of their job is just lying to the American people to create the outcome they want. So there's no reason you should believe any of this. You shouldn't believe the CIA. You shouldn't believe the New York Times. Yet everything that is said by the CIA and the FBI and the administration, it's all just written here like stenography. Just oh, absolutely. Oh, Saddam Hussein, WMD, and think of these fucking shitbag reporters. Did they get fired after this? When we found out there was no WMD, did they get? No, they're heroes. They have great jobs. They're doing great. They're not fired. That was their job. Their job was to create manufacture consent for a fucking mass killing of innocent people. That was their job. They did it great. Stayed there or went on to another magazine or newspaper. Doing great. 6-figure jobs. Doing wonderful. The agency's previously undisclosed assessment has circulated among the blah, 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 describes both the risks of terror attacks on American forces inside Iraq. You can't have terror attacks on invading forces. That's not the definition of terror. Assholes. Inside Iraq, if an invasion occurs, and the danger of similar attacks on troops already massing in the region. you're still an invading force. What do you? All right. The assessment goes beyond the threat posed by Saddam Hussein's military forces, predicting for the first time that groups that the Bush administration has said are given haven by Mr. Hussein's government. So that's another favorite thing they like to do, right? And with Palestine and with other countries, they like to say it about Venezuela and Iran. They go, well, they're giving haven to terrorists. It's haven. How many killers have come from America? How many of our military forces are given haven as they're murdering people around the world? How many, like, even just militant and neo-Nazi groups? How about fascist ICE forces, like the ICE agents and other, like, they're given haven? And I mean, are they not wreaking terrorist activities? They're locking kids in cages? You don't think that creates a little terror? So the giving haven it's a garbage, fucking bullshit idea created just to have propaganda against other countries, etc. The conclusions are based on recently collected intelligence in a form of intercepted communications, glimpses of 4 to 8 mid-level Qaeda operatives said to have been spotted in Iraq, and an analysis of the organization's prior tactics. Again, CIA. Why would you believe a word they said? This is the organization that provably killed Kennedy. All right, provably has taken out an American president. If there's still anyone watching that has any question on that front, go read JFK and the Unspeakable. I guarantee you'll walk away thinking that what I just said is not controversial at all. But yeah, why are we believing a word that is coming out of these people? They've lied us into every war I think I can ever remember. They've lied us into everything. So why would you believe a word that comes from the CIA, the FBI? And of course, nowadays, we saw the Russiagate hoax. Again, Trump, fucking awful racist shitbag, but still, Russiagate bullshit. We've seen that collapse. We've seen just lies after lies. Trump was going to pull troops out of Afghanistan, and suddenly Russia's paying bounties to the Taliban. Oh my goodness. A week later, after it served its purpose, well, it turns out that story was utter garbage. I mean, that's their job. As Mike Pompeo said when he was head of the CIA, we lied, we cheated, we stole. That was fucking, he said it. The head of the CIA said it. That's their job. Why are we believing it? Why did we believe it then? What are you, out of your goddamn minds? And yet here we are. Here we are again. Modern day. Let's fast forward to modern day. Doing it all again, right? Hating anyone who's anti-war, treating them like shit. For anybody who remembers the invasion of Iraq, anyone on television, I mean, in public too, but with the little yellow ribbons around the trees and shit, right? Anyone, those were gags, by the way. They were, you were supposed to tie the yellow ribbon to a ball gag, and if you had anything negative to say about American hegemony and the destruction of other nations, you were supposed to tie the yellow ribbon ball gag into your mouth so you couldn't speak. But yeah, in public to some degree, but especially if you were any kind of celebrity, anybody on television. Michael Moore got booed at the Oscars for saying we shouldn't invade Iraq. Janine Garofalo, a friend of mine, she boldly went on Fox News. They would surround her by 6 people because they were afraid this 4'5", person would be able to out-argue them on why we shouldn't invade Iraq. And so they had to surround her with 6 people. I remember one of the most famous clips. They were like, boy, Saddam Hussein must love you. That's your answer? You have no answer for why we shouldn't kill 1 million people except Saddam Hussein must love you? What a piece of goddamn... these are shit sacks of human beings, and they all still have shows. They're all still doing fine. Couple might have died, but for the most part, all still doing great. Sean Hannity, Bill O'Reilly. Yeah, he finally lost his show because of sexual harassment, but he didn't. He's still touring. He's touring with Donald Trump. That's got to be a hell of a comedy show, the two of them together. Anyway, there you go. 40 minutes on the front page of the New York Times mainly almost entirely above the fold, right before one of the earlier times, 20 years ago when we invaded a country. Manufacturing consent from war. That's their consent for war. That's their job. They're doing it right now again. Except it's consent for one of the largest Cold Wars, economic wars, destruction of just unbelievable magnitude that is going on right now. And again, I've said it in every fucking video I've done for the past 2 weeks. I don't support Russia invading Ukraine. I don't support a single bomb being dropped. I don't support the Ukrainian Nazis either. I don't support any of that shit. I'm opposed to all of it. But you can be intelligent and understand what's going on and understand that even being against it, you can still see how much propaganda is being shoved down your throats right now. I mean, it's too much to even go. It's too much propaganda to even go through to even begin to debunk. Gray Zone's tried to do some of it. If you want to read about some of the shit that's come out, go to Gray Zone. Anyway, guys, this is what I do. If you're new to it, I hope you like it. But I am one of the most censored comedians in America, one of the most censored commentators in America. My show has been canceled. All the past YouTube videos banned around the world. Podcast deleted from Spotify. And so it really comes down to you guys and whether you want to see this type of material continue, these type of segments continue. So please go to patreon.com/Lee Camp. You get exclusive material, you get exclusive videos, you get a lot of these videos you get a day or two before everybody else. So patreon.com/Lee Camp, and the lowest tier to join is I think $1.25 a week. So it's not like you have to sign up and break your bank. I hope. Obviously, if it is breaking your bank, then do not sign up. But please check out patreon.com/Lee Camp. For those of you who are supporters, can't thank you enough. And check out the new Government Secrets where I'll be going. That's a podcast I do with Graham Elwood where I'm going over this coming up episode. I'm going over some of this propaganda for World War I and all the lies we were told to justify that. We've done it all before. There's nothing new. We've done it all before. We're going through it again. And I'm one of the victims this time. So a lot more fun this time. All right. Keep fighting.